What is up, guys? Welcome to a special episode of the Nest podcast. This is a sit down interview style episode with my co host for the evening, Justin. Justin, say what's up.
What's going on, guys?
And we have our special guest of the evening in with us tonight, James Luecke. He is the mind behind Between Keyframes, and he is also for his professional life a senior motion graphic designer, and he works on some pretty sweet sports teams and works on some pretty cool animations that they come out with that are on the jumbotrons and all that cool stuff. So, James, what's up? Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So when we heard that you did all this, we have a mutual friend named Jerome, and I really want to throw a shout out to him and say thanks for helping setting this up. But he threw your, I guess, introduction to Between Keyframes up in a group that we're a part of called Sportszilla. And I saw that and instantly was like, dude, I want to have this guy on the podcast because you do a job that I think would be my dream job.
Awesome.
Mine too.
You get to work around sports teams and around the sports that I follow constantly anyway, but you also get to create content that literally millions of people can see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that definitely gets me going on both levels because I love creating content and I love sports. So it's just a perfect marriage for me. How did you get into something like that?
Right out of college, I was working at, just a regular, it was actually a production firm out of St. Louis that they worked on some shows for HGTV and things like that, some smaller shows. A lot, actually, now they did a lot of like home remodeling shows. But the project that I was working on lost funding. So I had to jump into the living with, my parents and just picking up any freelance work I could get. And honestly, just saw a post on Indeed for a junior motion designer for the St. Louis Blues. And I was like, all right, yeah, why not? Like, I really wasn't a fan of hockey. Um, but I was like, I think it'd be cool. All my friends would think it'd be really cool that I'm working for this like hometown team that, they really love. And I was like, why not? I'll throw my hat in the ring there, and they grabbed it, and I started working there. I want to say it was like October of 2016, I think, or something like that, 2015, 2016. So
Okay.
yeah, I started working there as a junior designer, and then worked my way up from there.
And you still currently work for the Blues?
No, so I worked for the Blues for 2.5 years. Left. They won the Stanley Cup. So that's my
Oh,
luck.
there you
Yeah.
go.
But no, left, and then I worked for the past year and a half at the Nashville Predators. Wanted to get out of St. Louis, and Nashville was looking, and I knew it was a fun town. So me and my girlfriend at the time jumped and came over here, and then just for the past, I want to say like 3-ish months, I've been working for Nashville SC, which is the brand new MLS team here in Nashville Nashville got one and Miami got one, so we're the two new teams this year.
Oh, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
awesome.
You
Lot of
know,
lot of jumping around, but it's a good time.
we have a pretty decent following from the East Tennessee area. That's where Justin is from, is in the
Mhm.
eastern part of Tennessee.
Nice.
And a lot of those people that we know have migrated to the Nashville area or at least follow the Preds in hockey.
Yeah.
So this is a guy that's designing the Predator logo ripping out of the stadium whenever it's trying to get you guys to cheer and wave your towels and all that crazy hockey shit that you guys do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets to make some fun stuff, that's for sure.
Let me ask you a question. I'm 38 years old, and I decided to go back to school. I don't know why, but I did.
Hey.
And I'm going for information technology, but graphic design is something that's always intrigued me. Granted, I have no artistic ability. I guess my question is, what degree did you get to get into that type of work? Like, what did you go to school for exactly?
So I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts, a BFA in digital art. It was from a smaller uh, state school in Missouri, and it honestly didn't teach me really anything, which I'm not going to say the name for that reason. But they're a red bird, and it's in southeast part of Missouri, so just for anybody that's wondering to go to school there,
Figure that out.
maybe check something else out. But no, it really didn't teach me a lot. But I started in graphic design. In high school, I was this art kid, and I was like, I don't want to be painting in my basement. Painters don't, unless you're very good. And some people do make money that are very good, make a load of money. But for the most part, I know a lot of people that really wanted to be painters and sculptors and ceramicists and things like that. And, you could just tell it wasn't going to really go anywhere. Well, I wanted to make money. I've always been good at marketing myself, and I can talk for days, and that's my dad's fault. I got that from him. But yeah, I wanted to make money, but I started doing graphic design, but all my marketing friends would have to take a graphic design class, and then they put on the resume that now they're graphic designers. So I
Gotcha.
was like, the market is really saturated with all these kids that now slightly know how to work in design. So it's going to be really hard for me to get a job as a graphic designer. Um, that's when I started getting into motion graphics, and saw that, like, you start seeing, you always wonder, like, how Pixar and stuff like that makes their designs, and commercials especially. And for me, I was a big sports fan, so you see, I'm from St. Louis. Cardinals are, the world to everyone there. And so you'd see all these graphics for, you know uh, news programs to pop up, and you see, the cardinal going across, or a bird flying, or baseball crushing through something, and you never really know. Nobody ever tells you. You just know it gets made. You don't know how it gets made. So kind of just looked into that, and I was like, wow, you know this is the new edge of graphic design. This is, if you're going to be a graphic designer, you got to be able to make stuff move, because that's where everything's going now. And so kind of just picked it up mostly from YouTube tutorials, and for a second there, pirated downloads of software, because some of it's too expensive for a college kid. But as a jumping off point, that was just something I did. But yeah, mostly YouTube. YouTube taught me most everything that I know. Um, but yeah, and then it just kind of like it became, instead of working on projects for school that I was supposed to do, my teacher was like, "You're a little too far ahead of us. Like, I can't teach 3D. I can't do a lot of this stuff. So just give me a project like once every 2 months, and I'll give you an A." And I was like, I need a reel when I leave. So, because I've never had any employer ask me for a diploma, or
Yeah.
ask where I went to school, any of that. It's always, what's the link to your graphics reel, so they can see what you did. Because without that, I could show you I graduated from, the Chicago School of Fine Arts, or any of these crazy great schools. But if I don't actually have the proof to back it up, then there's, that piece of paper means nothing.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in pretty much any field. But you hit on something, the software that you have to use. I get that it's a pretty specific software, but what would you say is the preferred software of the industry, or the one that you like to use the best?
So if you're starting out, and just want to get something, put together, you're going to go with like the Adobe suite, which is the Photoshops and Illustrator and Premiere and everything that works together with what's called After Effects, which is your main motion graphic design software. It's used a lot mostly for 2D animation, and then once you go into like 3D animation, you're going to jump into, your Cinema 4D or your Maya, which Maya people know from the first time or one of the first times it was used was to develop Shrek, the movie. But now they're a real leading software. AutoCAD's in there, which a lot of engineering students know, because that's, it's more, and then interior design people, they also know AutoCAD as well too. So I use Cinema 4D. I feel like if I wasn't going to be an artist, I'd be an engineer, and I think it gives you the opportunity to build things how they would actually work in real life. And plus, I think it's kind of an industry standard kind of deal. So yeah, that's, it'd be the Adobe Suite with After Effects, and then from there you jump into a 3D software like Cinema 4D.
It's ironic that we had you this week, because I'm actually taking where I'm going to school for information technology. The course that I'm taking right now, we had a test, and it was on CAD and graphic design programs. So you saying these little things I've actually read about.
Hmm.
Granted, I had no clue what they really were. It just kind of gave me a brief description, because the class ain't about that. It's about, technology as a whole.
Yeah.
But how much does that run? Like if you were going, say me and Brandon went out today, we're like, we're going to start making our animations right now. How much would that run? You said it was expensive. Like what's a good ballpark to get
If
started?
you were going to buy actually the Adobe Suite, which would have everything that you would need in it, I want to say, and I don't want to get this wrong, just because I know somebody would be like, "That's not even close." I'm pulling it up here real quick. That's funny.
Tell me free. Tell me free.
Oh, it is 100% not. Their home. Okay, here we go. So for all of them, it's either $60 a month, or I know like I want to. What would that be like? I want to say it's like 500 for a year or something like that.
60 a month would be about 720, but
I know they do a discount if you aren't paying for per month, but and then I also know that I have mine through my work. I've always had it through work that if you have one license, you could have it at like your work computer and your home computer and, the other office computer or something like that. I think it gives you up to 3 licenses. So I've ever since I've really been doing this, I've always had one from work. So that's good. And then Cinema 4D, I want to say 1,100
a year?
a year. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 1,100 a year.
So it's kind of one of those things you invest until you get good enough to get a job, and then
yeah, the good thing is
provided.
with Adobe, you can get like Cinema 4D Lite, so it gives you a lot of what you can do to get you going, and I believe that's free. So you can do little stuff. I don't know if you can export anything, but it's a good learning tool, at least to follow along with like tutorials online. So that's a good way to jump off. It was 2014, 13, 12. One of those times when I torrented an illegal version just so because I was in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's no way I could spend any money on any of this, and so I went and kind of hoped nobody found out about it. And
I'm sure the statute of limitations are up on that anyway, so I
right,
think you're good.
yeah.
I
Well,
think we're
that
good.
and hopefully I've spent enough money on their products now that they're like, all right, we'll let you go for that 1
Yeah,
year that you didn't.
all is forgiven. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good.
So
What
What
YouTuber do you like? Like what YouTuber's your go-to guy to learn?
so as far as 3D content, so there's actually a few. As far as 3D content, I would start with grayscalegorilla.com. They have a lot of plugins. They are probably one of the top people to go to for 3D motion graphics and updates in everything that's 3D motion and Cinema 4D. And then there's, as far as like video content and working with cameras and editing and stuff like that, Peter McKinnon's his stuff is fantastic. He's also known to be a really great dude, and he's makes some unbelievable content. But that's more for videography and cinematography and photography, and he does kind of all that and makes some excellent content. And the rest are just kind of I don't know. It's kind of a wide spread area. A lot of the funny thing with a lot of 3D art is you'll get a lot of Russian videos. Making 3D arts and graphics, special effects and everything is huge over in Eastern Europe, and so you get a lot of that content. So you might have to sit through a few videos where you can't understand anything. But the good thing about it is the program's right there, so you kind of just click on the icons that they click on, and everything goes smooth. So, but yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that sounds great, and I mean, I love the technical talk. It's stuff that I'm definitely going to listen back and write down and check out because I'm definitely interested in that ballpark. But I want to know some of the funny on the job stories, like the shit that you've done that's been put up on a jumbotron or something. Just what would you use to impress chicks? Because we've got some girls that are listening to the podcast and they want to know. What do you use as a pickup line?
What I used to, I'm engaged now, so sadly, sorry, everyone, but no, I mean, it was lies at St. Louis bars. It's like, oh yeah, I'm best friends with Alex Petrangelo. Like I talk to the guy all the time. I've talked to him like 4 or 5 times. I haven't talked to him a ton. Still a nice dude, But they don't know that. And the good thing about working in sports is most of the time, depending on how good your team is and how in demand their tickets are, is you get free tickets to games. Um, at one point with the Blues, we got free tickets every game, which was awesome. Most of the time, you can find a way to get free tickets from somebody that works there, or you get discount tickets. But you say they're free because you're important, I guess, and you take a girl to a game. So that helps out a lot. And then the good thing is while you're at the game, most of the time you get asked, all right, so what do you make? Like, what do you do? And
Exactly.
that's when you point up at the scoreboard and
Yeah.
see,
Why not?
all right, see where that score is. That's called the GIP. I designed that. I made that. All right, there's going to be this animation here that tells everybody to get loud. I made that. All these advertisements for all of the sponsors, I made all of those.
For
The goal graphic.
anybody that's been to a professional sports games, they can picture the stuff in their head.
Yeah.
All the moving graphics that are popping up telling you to do certain things. You're behind all that. So that's your little creation at work whenever you're there.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's so cool.
Then you just go home after that.
Most of the time, the really fun thing about working in sports is, as much as it's a sports culture, that also means it's a bar and a drinking culture. So especially the Preds, as soon as the game's over, a lot of us will get together because most of the people that work. So that's another rough thing about sports is a lot of times you'll end up having to work during the games. So you work your 40-hour weeks. In hockey, you probably have 3 games a week if you're at a home stand, or 4. So then you're working from 8 a.m. to when the game gets over at 10:30. But so
Yeah.
we'll go up to one of the bars that are located inside there that at the Preds it's Patron, and go there and grab a drink with everybody and either sulk with the team not doing great, or celebrate because it was a crazy overtime whatever. And yeah, so there's a lot of community in sports. You work with the people all the time, so a lot of people become really close friends. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's cool. What would you say is the best work experience that you have? Is it that camaraderie with the gang, or is it just being able to express your own creativity or your own imagination so that millions of people can see it?
Um, man, that's tough because the people are great. As far as the actual content goes, I've made so this past year I made 6 or 7 different opens. Which an open is that the hype video before the puck gets dropped. Getting everybody all hyped up and everything like that. Um, that I made 7 of those, and every time that was just this year. Last year, I made like 6 of them, and then I constructed the entire playoff setup, which that was working with the laser people that work for Base Nectar, like crazy EDM people that use lasers. So we got to work with them, and it's Nashville, so we're working with um, one of the companies that we work with is Moo TV, and they do, right now they just won a bunch of awards for working with like the biggest names in country music, and they do their concert lighting. And a few other companies. Morris is another one here that we work with them all the time for lighting, and they do these massive, big, hundreds of thousands of dollars of rigs to make this big atmosphere. And every time that one of the opens comes out with all that, no matter what, my just stomach drops because you're like, don't mess up. Because you're even the stuff that you put out could be great, and there could be like a fault in the wiring, or the power goes out, or anything sort of things could happen. And so you just want it to go really good because it reflects you and all your hard work. And so I think it dropping every time, like my stomach dropping every time, was like, that was a big triumphant moment, because like if it would go good, then you're like, all right, we're set. You hear the crowd cheer and clap, which is, I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if people didn't enjoy what I was doing, because that's like a big satisfaction part for it. And so I think it's like hearing the crowd roar after, like, when it fades to black, that's a big, like, satisfying moment. We had the big one for the playoffs last year, which was awesome that we got to use like all this crazy, uh, you know, lighting and everything like that. And the place just went wild afterwards. And it's like, okay, like, Yeah, they're cheering for the guys that just entered the ice, but they're also cheering a little bit for me. And they have no idea who I am. So, but it was cool.
Well,
That's gotta be
now they
cool.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that what's cool about that? Like my job and Brandon's job, we work our tails off, but we don't get that instant gratification. You
Yeah.
get to see what you do happen, like unfold there in that stadium. And I know that gotta feel good. I know I had season tickets to the Falcons for years, and there was just one scene they used it forever, and it's where the bird would fly down on top of a football, and it was this loud, like falcon screech. I can't explain the noise, but man, every time I'd hear that, give me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And just to know that, like, you get that feeling, like you're giving those people those goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's got to be an incredible feeling.
Yeah. There's one thing that runs at the Pred games like now, and it was something I made, and it was like I kind of just got lost in it. I was sitting at my desk, and we call it a kaboom. We needed something in the third period to get the crowd back into it. Say we're down by one, we need the crowd to yell to get the blood glow going in the players, and so they'd score. And it was like a Sunday, and it was like 2 o'clock, and I just got done working out, and I was like, I'll go to the office, and 'cause I had this kind of weird idea, and I was like, all right, I'll throw something together, and it was largely inspired from one of my friends of the Blues that did this, for them, where you cut a bunch of scenes together from movies. And so I did that and grabbed like kind of movies that were a little bit out there, like Ace Ventura's in it, and like the monkey from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and all this stuff. And it's people screaming and Will Ferrell's yelling and, all this nonsense. And at the end, it's the You Shall Not Pass from Lord of the Rings, and it hits the ground, and then this EDM song goes and it blows up. And that's something that they still use all the time because it works so well. Because I think the first time, like, even we used it, the place lost it because it was the first time they ever saw it. And then we ended up scoring and then ended up going to OT and winning. And I think like the president like came over to my desk the next day. He's like, "That was awesome. More of that. Like, let's go." Like it was sweet.
And that's the way sports work. If
Yeah.
you use it that night and it's a success and the team rallies and wins, then you have to use it the next night and the
Mhm.
next night and the next
Yeah.
night. Growing up a baseball guy, superstition was huge into what I knew and I loved. So if I had a good game or something, I might not want to change my socks or something. So I get that. It's cool to see that even on a professional level, from the graphics department standpoint, superstitions still
Oh
hold
yeah.
true.
Oh, we went through. The Preds had one of the worst power plays last year in the league, and so they decided that they were going to change the power play song because it was bad luck. We ended up, which was cool because I got to produce the video. We changed the words to 5150 by Dirks Bentley and shot a video with Dirks in town, and that was the second or third time I've worked with Dirks, but got to do a video shoot with him. Well, it ended up not working. We again didn't have a great power play, and so we played like a different trial of like 6 different songs for the first 6 games of the year, and then quit and went back to the old one, and then we started scoring on the power play, and they're like, "All right, we'll keep the old one." Um, so yeah, they're just
How it
like
works.
they're very superstitious. Everybody in sports is, which does kind of suck sometimes because you'll put all this hard work and effort into something, and then they're just like, "Oh, we didn't do good. Just throw it away." And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Have you ever met a director or I guess a boss or whatever that's just that type of person that you just don't want to be around, that you just can't work for? You don't have to mention any names or anything.
There
But
are, and it's not from actual interactions with them. Like personally, everybody that I've worked for has been really nice. I really haven't had. I'm actually thinking back right now if there are any real jerks. There's one, but he's okay. He was just difficult to work for. But that was back in St. Louis. But there, it was. It's more of what they do behind the scenes that just are soul crushing stuff. That it's like, you know, especially in when you're a designer, a lot of what you do falls under marketing because you're making stuff to sell to the fans to keep coming. Um, so you'll have people in marketing that don't have a background in graphics or design or, video or film or any of this, and they'll tell you things that just don't actually make sense in a real world experience. And so they'll tell you to cut something, and in your heart that it's like, that's not right. Like that should stay in there for sure. And but whatever they say goes, and so you have to take it out. And like that's probably the biggest issue that I've ran into that just kills you, because it's like I know what I'm doing is correct and I know it works and this is right, and it's gonna come back that I'm gonna have to fix it again because I know this is wrong. And but you just have to do it anyway. So that's probably the worst of it.
Yeah. Again, that can be relatable in so many
Oh
different
yeah.
careers or
Oh
anything.
yeah.
So I
I
know
go through that
exactly what you're
daily.
talking about. Yeah, no shit. Um, Now we've talked a lot about your professional life and what you do for work. I'm interested to know what you're doing with between keyframes. It's
Sure.
a new hobby that you just started, right?
Yeah, so we're actually only about 2 videos in because I have to find time outside of work to also do this project. But what it was is I'm still very close to my high school that I went to. It's Holt High School in Winsville, Missouri, just like 40 minutes west of St. Louis. But I'm very close to, I had a great time there. Both my parents were teachers. My dad taught there for 30 years. So I'm still very close to that, the educators, and I even have some friends that work there. And the art teacher that I had all 4 years while I was there, she's a very good friend of mine, and I always wanted to do something to give back to them. My first idea was I was going to set up a green screen and have the football players do, their headshot video stuff. So like, they do the slow motion, like, hold the basketball in front or cock back a football, depending on what sport, and do all the stuff. And I'd put in a fake background like the pros do, which I've done for every professional team that I worked for. And also by doing that, then I'd also have the media kids in and they could watch, all right, why am I shooting this at 120 frames, and why is, giving them all the technical skills while getting all the athletes something cool that they can, have for the rest of their lives, and something neat to be a part of, make them feel like, they're pros and things like that. That was the original idea, which we're still trying to set up, but with this, everybody being quarantined because of the coronavirus, it was, uh, I wanted to be able, I knew that kids were, especially juniors and seniors in high school, that don't have access to this information of, I'm an art student, I'm going to go to school for graphic design or something related to art. What should I expect? What are my options? What does this look like for a career going forward? Because I didn't have that information. I was told I was going to be a Bachelor of Fine Arts and I was going to get my degree and then find a job and who knows what. So didn't have any idea. So I thought, this would be a good way, especially using Twitch, that I can live stream. They can comment, and then, I could answer their questions directly and teach and show them, go back if I need to, how to fix stuff or how I got there, answer any questions live and immediately. Um, that I thought that would be a good way to connect with the students and, give them some education, give them something to do while they're stuck at home in their living room, being bored for 24 hours a day. So yeah,
And is that open to everybody? It's a
yeah. The,
okay.
the first one I did was kind of a guinea pig test because I never used Twitch before, so I wanted to make sure that that actually worked correctly. And so I did a little test, and it ended up, we had 8 students that watched it. Then the next one was, I believe it was last Wednesday. Um, and then I'm going to have one coming up this Friday. But yeah, so it's it's if I have viewers and people enjoy watching the content, then great. If I don't, then that's still okay, because another reason that I'm doing this is for my own sanity. I need to stay motivated and need to keep making content, or else I'm falling behind the people that are making content. And so, it gets me in front of the computer for at least 2 hours for that day, and cranking out content and trying new stuff, and then also trying stuff based on other people's questions. Like the last episode, one of my friends that's now the motion designer for the Preds, he's not super in depth with 3D work, and he had a question for me, and so the entire process was on that, on how that works. So yeah,
That's awesome, man. I know, right now we're in a pandemic, but I agree 100% with trying to learn something new right now. I mean, there's nothing else we can do. Granted, I'm in school, so I'm focusing on that. But even today, I've never done anything with woodwork. I'm not that type of guy. I pay somebody to change my oil, change my tires. I'm just not that type of guy. But I've been watching these videos of the guy with the CNC machine where he's doing, you put it in the computer and then it carves everything out in wood.
Yeah.
And like I told my wife today, I said, I think I might get a CNC machine. And she just laughed. She laughed hysterically at me. But I think what you're doing would actually save me a lot of money and would be more interesting and toward my end goals. So I'm going to check them out. Where can they find you at?
So we're on Twitch. So the actual Twitch channel is twitch.tv/between_the_keyframes. That will eventually change to just between keyframes. I didn't think the naming all the way through. So on Twitch, it's between the keyframes, and on Facebook, I want to say, just so that I know I have this right.
While he's looking this up, you put this in the description, Brandon. Are you able to do that? Hey.
There we go. Nice. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so that's what all that is that he just spelled out. If you want to find them, that's a little bit easier for people to find, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then on Facebook, it's facebook.com/between keyframes, all one word. And then probably the most important one would be our Instagram page, because I post most of the stories on that of when we're about to go, live, or if we're going to do that, Friday or anything like that. And then also the big thing on Instagram is I post what we did that day. So if you have questions or comments, or you want to see something done, or you have an idea, I'll take that idea in, we can make that, and I can kick it back out. So it was a group effort. It wasn't just me doing it. It's ideas that came from the entire group all together. And that Instagram is, just so I know I have that correct as well. It's just between_keyframes on Instagram. So if you search that, you will see a nice little blue and gray logo. And that's where the updates are.
Boom.
Nice.
All right. Awesome. James, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's definitely something that piques both of our interest. I hope our listeners enjoyed it as well. Any final thoughts that you want to give to anybody? Any other shout outs you want to give?
No, not really. This is awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. If I might be able to come up with some actual stories of times for the Blues, or I still have a bunch of other friends that are still floating around the sports community that would probably love to come on the show, especially with all the downtime they got, that are closer to the players and might have some better stories for you guys, and some background information. But thanks for having me. It was awesome, and I'm glad that I could get this out and all the information out to whoever wants to hear it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we thanks a lot, and we'd be happy to have you back sometime for sure.
Sounds great,
we
guys.
need to get him on the actual sports, especially if sports is down. If he comes up with these stories, I actually have him on a Monday and discuss sports with us and give us those stories. I think that'd be awesome.
That's a good call.
There's enough of them, man.
To anybody listening that doesn't normally tune in, we do a live sports show every Monday night at 7 Eastern time, and it's broadcast on Facebook Live on the Sportszilla group. So join the Sportszilla group. You can find that live stream every Monday night. And that's about it. Thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it. Justin, you got anything else?
No, man, it was a pleasure. Like I said, after Brandon shared that video of what you do, I've been looking forward to this show since then,
Thanks, man.
because of that little Falcons video that used to give me goosebumps. I was like, man, this guy does that. Like, it just intrigued me. So thanks so much. And when I'm ever in Nashville, which I tend to end up in often, I'll have to give you a shout.
Sounds good, man. I'll be here.
All right. See
All
you
right.
guys. Thanks for
guys.
watching.
See you.